He took her ID like it was nothing, glanced at it, smirked, then let it slip from his hand, watching it hit the floor like trash. What he didn't realize, he hadn't just disrespected a woman, he'd disrespected the wrong woman. And by the time the truth hit him, it hit too late. Ever stepped into a room and felt it tighten around you? Like the walls already made up their mind before you had a chance to say your name? Not because you were out of line. Not because you didn't belong. But because they never expected you in the first place. That was the air inside the Haven Financial Branch on North Chestnut in Fairview. Beige carpet that hadn't been cleaned properly in years. A dying plant near the door. A wall clock that ticked louder than the staff. No greetings. No music. Just stillness. And judgment. Monica Hayes walked in like she had every right to be there because she did. Tailored navy blazer. White silk blouse. Her skin rich and radiant under the flickering ceiling lights. Her heels tapped with purpose, and for a heartbeat, the lobby froze. She glanced at the security guard. He looked up from his phone, startled. Gave a slow, unsure nod. She returned it without blinking. She'd seen that look before. At airports. At conferences. Even in some of her own boardrooms. Monica was 43. Founder of Hayes Global Solutions. A strategist. A negotiator. A storm wrapped in elegance. She had contracts with 3 governments, flew private without posting it, and sat at tables where no one offered her a seat, so she built her own. Today wasn't about making headlines or striking deals. She was here for one thing: to verify a wire transfer, a routine confirmation, the final green light on a $3 billion international partnership. She'd flown in from Atlanta that morning just for this. This tiny, unimpressive branch wasn't picked at random. It was part of a quiet evaluation. What they didn't know was that she wasn't just visiting a bank. She was testing a system, and someone was about to fail it. Monica stepped up to the counter and gave the teller a quick glance. His name tag read Ryan Bishop. Early 20s, pale skin, stiff posture, and a look on his face like the job already bored him to death. He barely met her eyes. "Hi there," she began, voice steady, professional. "I'm here to verify an international wire transfer. My team sent everything ahead, but I was told I'd need to confirm it in person with ID." Ryan nodded without interest. Name: Monica Hayes. He started typing with one hand, spinning a pen in the other like he needed something to keep himself awake. She handed him her ID, state-issued, updated, with that golden real ID star in the corner. No reason to question it. Her photo stared back confidently, like even the plastic card knew who she was. Ryan took it, stared at it, then at her, then back at the ID. "You the account holder?" "Yes." "CEO?" "Correct." Something shifted behind his eyes. Not surprise. Something smaller, meaner, like a quiet judgment curling into place. And then he flicked his wrist. The ID fell. Not slipped. Dropped. On purpose. Monica didn't react. Not right away. She blinked once, slowly. Bent down. Picked it up with 2 fingers like it was too clean to touch the ground. When she stood back up, her expression hadn't changed. Neither had his. Ryan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed like he'd just proven something no one asked him to prove. "You people are always rushing in here like it's urgent," he mumbled, not looking at her. Silence stretched between them like glass about to crack. "Kindly do us a quick favor. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you are touched by this story. Your support keeps us creating and sharing more powerful stories as this one. Thank you. Now, let's get back to our story." Monica's voice came out calm. Smooth. Quiet. "Thank you for your time." She turned. Walked out. Heels tapping hard against the tiles. The automatic door side closed behind her. But that moment in the bank? That wasn't the end of the story. That was the spark. Back in her rental, an ash-gray Lincoln parked beneath a crooked security camera, Monica sat motionless. Her ID still in one hand. the other gently gripping the fabric of her pants.
She didn't cry.
Didn't rant. She just sat there in the heat-soaked silence, letting the moment settle like dust. Because it wasn't the insult, wasn't even the ignorance. It was how casual it had been for him. How unthinking.
How easy.
Monica tapped the edge of her ID against the steering wheel. Not out of anger. Not even frustration. Just quiet thought. This wasn't about ego. It wasn't even about her. That deal?
It wasn't some vanity project.
It was a years-long multinational agreement.
Teams.
Investors. Entire departments depending on this final step. But more than that, this was a test. Fairview was one of 3 pilot branches. The kind of place often skipped over, working-class towns, smaller communities, places where progress moves slow. She hadn't come here by accident. She came to see if the ground was ready. If people here were ready. What she got instead was a reminder. Some doors aren't locked. They're just held shut by people who think they're the key. Her phone buzzed in the passenger seat. A message from Leah, her COO. Frankfurt confirmed. Need final approval before 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Everything else is in motion. Monica stared at the text. No response. No emotion. Then, with one small press of her thumb, she turned the phone off. It was 2:12 p.m. Back inside the bank, Ryan was winding down his shift. No one asked him anything. No manager pulled him aside. No questions. No accountability. He scrolled his phone, laughed at a meme,
Popped gum.
moved on with his day, like nothing ever happened. Monica waited at a red light. Across the street, a few teens leaned against a Family Dollar wall, laughing, sharing snacks, totally free. For a second, she envied them the weightlessness. She thought about being 17 again, back at that greasy Waffle House in Monroe, Louisiana. Men twice her age calling her sweetheart, baby girl, slipping their hands too close when paying in cash. She never flinched, never folded. She just worked harder, saved every cent. Then came Southern.
2 degrees.
One internship with no pay. And DC, where her first boss smiled through his teeth every Monday and called her darling until she filed the HR report that got him escorted out. Everything she had, she'd earned twice. Once for the title, and once again for the respect. So no, Ryan wasn't new. He was just another mirror of the system. Dressed differently. Playing the same role. A name tag, a keyboard, and a sense of authority he thought gave him permission. But that didn't mean the insult didn't land. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel, knuckles stiff. Her mind kept circling back to that moment. The drop of her ID, the shift in his eyes, the way he said you people like it was just casual, harmless, like he'd done nothing at all. And that was when something inside her clicked. It wasn't rage. It wasn't bitterness. It was something colder, clearer. She reached into her bag, pulled out the second phone, the one only a handful of people knew about. She typed one line. Pull the plug. I'll explain tonight. Sent. The light turned green. She didn't head to the hotel. Not yet. Something deeper was moving inside her. Something long buried. Something finally awake. The sun was dropping low over Fairview's west side as she merged onto Highway 65. No music. No calls. Just the steady hum of the road and the rhythm of her thoughts. But silence didn't mean peace. Not when you've been dismissed. Not when you've been erased in plain sight. And definitely not when you know just how powerful you really are. What struck her the most wasn't the disrespect. It was how steady she'd stayed through it. No yelling. No raised voice. No scene. Because she knew the cost of being loud in rooms that already wanted a reason to doubt her. One sharp word, and she'd become the headline. Aggressive, difficult, dangerous. There were always labels waiting for women like her. And none of them told the truth. Monica let out a dry laugh. The kind that rattles in your chest when you're too exhausted to cry again. She passed a faded barbecue sign off the highway. Her chest ached. Her father's voice came back, clear as day. Don't let him drag you into the mud, Danny. Nothing grows there. He died too early. Never saw her land her first 7-figure contract. But she remembered him in their cramped Baton Rouge kitchen, coffee in one hand, dignity in the other, teaching her that grace wasn't weakness. It was strength under fire.
She was living that now.
But damn if it didn't still sting. Because she already knew what came next. Some bland statement from corporate. A quiet review of what happened. Maybe even an apology wrapped in vague PR language. And that teller?
He'd be fine.
A different branch, a slap on the wrist. And her? She'd get the usual. Accused of overreacting. Called divisive.
Or worse, erased.
Monica rolled down the window and let the wind slice through the stillness. She wasn't looking for comfort. She wanted something cold, something real, because this wasn't about banking anymore. It was about being seen, and what it costs to stay human in a world that keeps trying to shrink you. This wasn't just about one rude moment. It was about the slow, invisible cuts, the ones that build over time like dust on untouched furniture. You don't notice it until it chokes the air. Monica had earned every inch of her life with grit, sleepless nights, and a tongue she'd bitten more times than she could count. But today, something snapped. And for once, she wasn't going to tape it back together. As the road curved toward the Marriott on Sunshine Street, where she was supposed to check in and smile through another strategy dinner, she eased off the gas. Then a turn. A sharp right into a half-lit gas station lot. Abandoned, except for one flickering light above Pump 3. She let the engine hum, eyes fixed on nothing, fingers resting on the steering wheel like it might give her answers. Then slowly, she reached for her phone and powered it back on. 37 texts. 9 missed calls. Her CFO. Legal. Frankfurt. All wanting the green light. All assuming nothing had gone wrong. Monica stared at the screen for a long moment, then tapped one name. Leah Monroe. It rang once, then again. Then click. Danny. Finally. What happened? Are you okay? Monica breathed in. I'm all right, she said quietly. I'll explain on the call tonight. But Leah? Yeah, the deal's off. A beat of silence.
What?
Monica, no, Frankfurt's already. I know. And the silence returned. This time, heavier. Monica stared at the empty road in front of her, headlights glowing across cracked pavement. Sometimes, she said softly, protecting your self-respect costs more than sealing a deal, but it's still the better trade. Leah didn't say a word, and that silence told Monica everything. But the real battles were still ahead, and they wouldn't all be this quiet. At exactly 8 p.m. Central, Monica sat at the glass desk inside her hotel suite. The laptop screen glowed in front of her, camera still off. Behind her, Fairview's skyline blinked in tired, flickering light, unaware it was about to lose something worth billions. She could already hear the voices chiming in through her AirPods. Leah, Grant from Legal, Isaac from Strategy, and 3 board members she hadn't spoken to since the last quarterly update. She clicked her camera on. Her face filled their screens, poised, sharp, unreadable. Evening, she said. Leah leaned forward. Danny, are you okay? I'm fine. Grant jumped in fast. We got your message. Just to confirm, are you terminating the Frankfurt agreement? Yes. One word. Flat. Unshaken. The room went still. Isaac frowned, speaking from his office in Miami. You do realize that's 3 years of work. I do. And you're just walking away? I am. That's when the board chair finally spoke. Preston Locke. Smooth voice, East Coast polish. The kind of man who played golf with senators and owned too many cufflinks. With all due respect, Monica, that's not a decision you're authorized to make without full board consent. She smiled. No warmth behind it. I haven't signed anything. There's no breach. I'm stopping the deal before it ever began. Leah shifted uneasy. Danny, maybe just tell them what happened. Monica leaned forward, resting her elbows on the desk. Her voice was steady. No anger. No theatrics. This afternoon, I visited the Haven branch here in Fairview, just to verify a simple international wire. That location was under quiet review as a potential partner in our domestic expansion plan. Clifford blinked. You went there yourself?
Yes.
I wanted to see how they'd treat someone they didn't recognize. She didn't flinch. The teller asked for ID. I gave it to him. He looked at my name, looked at me, then dropped it on the ground. Deliberately. And then he said exact words, "You people are always in a rush for something." After that, he just leaned back in his chair like he'd done nothing wrong. The call went dead silent. Not surprised. Just weighed down. Isaac whispered, "Jesus." Grant sighed. "We can go after them legally. File a formal claim. Pressure the branch." Monica shook her head. No lawsuit. No public statement. No circus. Clifford, ever the strategist, saw his opening. But this incident? We can use it. Leverage it. Push them into better equity terms. Force long-term concessions. She looked him square in the eye. You think I'm going to force a partnership with people who treated me like I didn't belong there? Leah dragged a hand across her forehead. So the entire Frankfurt deal, all of it, gets tossed because of one guy at a bank in Missouri? Monica didn't hesitate.
No.
It gets tossed because of what that moment revealed. She leaned in slightly, eyes steady. This wasn't about numbers. It was about alignment, about choosing to work with places that see people, all people. That bank? They failed the most basic test. I'm not tying our name to that. Clifford adjusted his sleeves, sighing through his nose. You're seriously telling us to walk away from billions because of one employee's behavior? Monica didn't blink. I'm telling you that what you saw wasn't a fluke. It was a mirror. And I don't build on rot. The silence in the room stretched. Then Leah spoke, low and worn. She's right. Everyone turned to her. This kind of thing doesn't come out of nowhere. I've been in those lobbies too. Had to prove myself before I even got to the counter. This isn't new. Monica didn't just walk into that bank, she exposed it. Grant leaned back in his chair. If we pull out, legally we're fine. We can move those funds into the southeast bucket with zero friction. Clifford still looked like he didn't want to let go. And Frankfurt? What do we tell them? Monica looked directly into the camera. Her voice was cool, firm. We tell them it no longer fits our values. No press. No statement. Just a clean exit. But it's billions, Clifford whispered. Monica didn't respond. Her silence said it all. She laced her fingers together. Dignity, she said quietly, is worth more than any number on a contract. No one spoke. Clifford finally leaned back with a sigh. You built this company. It's your decision. Monica gave a single nod. One click. The call ended. Her face lingered in the black reflection of her laptop screen. Silent. Still. But outside that call, the ripple had already begun, and not everyone would be ready for the waves. The next morning, at exactly 9 a.m., the Haven Bank branch on North Chestnut unlocked its doors. By 9:02, the first customer had stepped inside. By 9:05, the branch manager, Maya Chin, stared at her office phone blinking with 3 urgent voicemails, all from corporate. Something wasn't right. She poured herself a bitter cup of old coffee, sat down and pressed play. Hey Maya, Trevor from Regional here. Something big happened yesterday with a client visit. Be ready for calls from up top. Call me back ASAP. Maya frowned. Next message. It was Hayes Global. Monica Hayes. Yeah, that Hayes. We need to talk immediately. Her hand froze. At 9:08, she was rifling through her inbox with one hand and flagging a teller with the other. Where's Ryan? She asked. The teller shrugged. Probably late again. Usual. At 9:14, Ryan strolled in like nothing mattered. Hoodie under his blazer. Clocked in without a word. "Ryan," Maya snapped. "My office."
Now.
He groaned and dragged his feet like he was being sent to detention. Inside, Maya got straight to the point. "Did you help a woman named Monica Hayes yesterday?" He scratched his head. Maybe? Black woman? Dressed fancy." Her chest tightened.
Yes.
"What happened?" He blinked slowly. "She gave me her ID. I looked at it. That's it." "Did you drop it on the floor?" He hesitated. "She dropped it, I think." "You think?" Maya pressed. He rolled his eyes. "Look, she was acting stiff. It wasn't personal. I didn't say anything crazy." "You didn't say anything inappropriate?" "I mean, I mentioned something about her being in a rush, but like, not in a racist way."
I didn't even know who she was.
Maya's heart sank. She already knew this was bigger than him. But what he didn't say, that was the real problem. Maya sank into her chair, a wave of fatigue hitting her like a wall. "She's the CEO, Ryan. Not just of any firm, one of the biggest private infrastructure groups in the country. And we were in talks with them." Ryan raised an eyebrow, scoffing. "So what? She came in to test us? That's ridiculous." "No, Ryan." Maya shot back, voice tightening. "What's ridiculous is risking a multi-billion-dollar partnership because you couldn't manage basic decency." He leaned back, arms crossed. "So what now? I'm getting fired." "I didn't say that," Maya replied coldly, "but if you think this won't have consequences, you're not paying attention." She walked to the door, then paused. "You better hope corporate decides this is something to learn from and not something they need to clean up publicly." Outside her office, she could already hear her assistant fielding calls, murmurs about press inquiries, client fallout, and damage control. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Na was getting those quiet calls from business journalists, ones who didn't have all the details, but could smell a storm coming.
And Monica?
She was already on her flight home. Windows shut, eyes closed, middle seat empty. Not because she needed sleep, because she'd already said everything that needed saying without speaking at all. By Friday afternoon, the ripple effect had reached Haven Bank's regional leadership. A new diversity initiative was quietly announced, complete with press graphics and corporate lingo. Ryan? Suspended. Not fired. Tucked away, safely, silently. And Monica's firm? They moved the money elsewhere. No headlines. No statements. Just quiet investment into smaller banks in Ohio, Alabama, and Mississippi. The ones with clean histories and communities they didn't treat like strangers. The message didn't come with a bang. It came with a shift. And those who were really paying attention, they felt it. Because sometimes silence makes the loudest noise. 4 days had passed since Monica stepped out of that Fairview branch. And still, not a word. No interviews, no clever tweets, no op-ed in Forbes. Just silence. But silence doesn't mean stillness. Her phone had been lighting up like a switchboard. Missed calls. Messages piling in from reporters, banks, mayors, 2 of them, and even a congressman fishing for answers. And now this. A sudden call request from Victor Halston, EVP at Haven Bank's national headquarters in Philadelphia. Corporate smooth. Voice like cologne. The kind of man who'd memorized apology scripts before breakfast. Monica picked up on the second ring. "Miss Hayes, I appreciate you taking the time." "I didn't." The line held a beat. Then came his chuckle, thin, practiced, meant to disarm without owning anything. "I understand your experience in Fairview didn't reflect our expectations."
"No," she said.
"It reflected mine." He cleared his throat like someone searching for neutral ground. "I want to personally extend our apologies. That behavior doesn't reflect the values we hold at Haven. We've launched a full internal." "Mr. Alluston," she cut in, voice cool as stone. "I don't need the handbook read to me. I assure you, this isn't scripted." Did you say the same thing when you handed your diversity team a rebranded logo? Another pause. Longer this time. I was hoping, he said carefully, we might revisit the structure of your investment plan. We're ready to offer enhanced guarantees, greater community alignment, even quiet oversight over local branch culture. On your terms. Monica blinked slowly. So, hush money, with a ribbon on it. His tone tightened. Miss Hayes, let's not lose sight of the bigger vision. This isn't about one employee. It's about creating real bridges between institutions and communities that have long been underserved. She didn't interrupt this time, but she didn't agree either. Because some bridges aren't built. They're tested. Monica let out a short, bitter laugh. Tell me something, Morris, she said. If I'd walked into that bank in sneakers and a hoodie instead of a custom suit, how do you think that would have gone? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Would your guy have smiled, offer me help, maybe asked if I needed clarification? Or would he have assumed I was in the wrong place before I even spoke? Her tone turned sharper. Because if that's how he handles a CEO moving billions in assets, what happens when a single mother shows up with nothing but a hope and a government check? Morris exhaled quietly. I can't change what happened, Miss Hayes. But I can make sure it never happens again. No, she said, flat and unflinching. You're trying to slap tape on a busted pipe and pretend it'll hold.
He paused.
Then what do you recommend? Monica leaned back, voice cool but certain. You don't need better PR. You need a better core. A culture that doesn't just train for compliance, but questions assumptions. Challenges the story your staff already believe when they look at someone like me. He said nothing. In the meantime, she added, I'm moving the capital. Quietly, but firmly. We'd appreciate if it stayed quiet, he murmured. No headlines. Monica didn't flinch. It will. But don't mistake silence for forgiveness. He sighed again, longer this time, slower. Is there anything we can do to rebuild trust? You could have called me that day, she said. Not after your legal team spent 4 days rewriting the narrative. He nodded. Understood. Anything else?
Yes.
Ryan Bishop. He hesitated. Go on. You're not going to fire him. That's your call. You don't believe in second chances? I do, she said quietly. But I believe second chances come after someone faces the first consequence. She hung up. No anger. No warning. Just truth. Plain and unshaken. And truth, when it's real, doesn't need a spotlight. It carries its own gravity. Monica knew that now. The burden of proof wasn't hers anymore. That was the shift. Life in Fairview rolled forward like nothing cracked. The bank still opened at 9. The dying ficus by the glass door still dropped, leaves no one swept. People came and went, chasing errands and paychecks, unaware a billion-dollar future had quietly walked out the front door. No press release. No controversy. But the absence was loud in the places that mattered. Frankfurt rang twice, then went quiet. Investors traded glances behind closed doors. A few rival firms sniffed around the space Hayes Global left behind, but the air felt different. Something had left the room, and no one could quite name it. Back in Atlanta, Monica stayed off stages. She didn't tweet. She didn't speak at summits. She just moved money. Quietly. Intentionally. Poured funds into places that didn't need a diversity memo to remember their humanity. Rural banks in Mississippi. Credit unions in Ohio. No applause. No cameras. Just action, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself. Then, nearly 3 weeks later, a small envelope showed up on her desk. No return address. Fairview postmark. Inside was a single handwritten note. The handwriting was jagged, nervous. Ms. Hayes. I heard what happened. I work at a different branch. We didn't get the full story, but we felt the impact. I just want you to know not all of us are like him.
Some of us saw it.
Some of us won't forget. Monica stared at the note a moment longer, then folded it cleanly and slid it into the back of her drawer. Not to cherish, but to remember. Because sometimes the message isn't in the noise. It's in the absence. The quiet. The void that lingers when someone with power decides they've had enough and simply leaves. No grand exit. No staged outrage. Just space. Empty and unmistakable. People notice absence in a way they never notice presence. They notice when your seat stays empty, when your voice goes missing, when your money moves without warning or noise. That's when the questions start. The goal was never to punish. It was to awaken. And there's nothing louder than being left behind. You don't have to prove your worth to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to fight for dignity in rooms that never made space for you in the first place. Sometimes the boldest thing you can do is to walk away. Quietly. On your terms. With your head high and your soul intact. Let the silence speak for you. Let it whisper what they refuse to see. Let them feel the loss and wonder, what did we just let slip through our fingers? Because real change doesn't start with noise. It starts with reflection. The kind that only happens when the door closes and the echo is the only thing left behind. If this story stirred something and you share it, like it.
Subscribe.
Not for views, but because someone out there needs to remember. That quiet doesn't mean powerless. That dignity isn't something you earn, it's something you protect. And when you walk away with your head high, the world listens, whether it admits it or not.